This was the director's badge, representing the highest authority and honor of the research institute. No, I'll earn one through my own abilities. After Becca left, Dr. Sebastian remained in a daze for a while, not understanding what she meant. But soon he was overwhelmed by anticipation and joy. She would come again tomorrow. The next day, Dr. Sebastian specially chose a white suit from his wardrobe. It highlighted his slender, upright masculine figure while exuding a gentle and elegant mature charm. The employees who were used to seeing him in lab coats were all stunned by this sight. Dr. Sebastian arrived at the research institute early in the morning and waited from dawn to noon. From noon to afternoon, until the last project of the day, recruiting new employees. His watch was almost worn out from checking, and his mood had long since changed from anticipation to deep disappointment. Perhaps yesterday's promise was just a perfunctory excuse, and she didn't want to see him again at all. A group of veteran professors from the research institute, seeing his poor mental state, suggested he go rest. Dr. Sebastian stood up to leave. The broadcast announced the name of the last interviewee, Becca. Upon hearing this, Dr. Sebastian's eyes immediately lit up. A group of old professors heard it was a female and started discussing among themselves. After all, the work at the research institute was mentally exhausting, and even some males could hardly persist. In their view, Becca was just a willful female coming to cause trouble at work. An old professor spoke first, his tone not particularly friendly. "Becca, are you here for an interview?" "Yes." Becca sat on the interview bench and greeted each interviewer in turn. When it came to Dr. Sebastian's turn, she gave him a very suggestive greeting. Dr. Sebastian was so enchanted that his heart almost stopped beating. Seeing this, the old professor asked, "Are you here to interview for the director's assistant position?" He had seen this situation many times before. Females often snuck into the institute to pursue the director, stubbornly hanging around the laboratory and refusing to leave. The research institute's regulation prohibiting all outsiders from entering was established because of this. Although the director was gentle and courteous, never scolding females, that was only based on respect for gender. At work, he was always impartial, strict, and meticulous, making no exceptions for anyone. Even if she's beautiful and gave him a flirtatious wink, it's simply asking for humiliation. The old professor asked Dr. Sebastian directly, wanting him to crush her hopes with one sentence. "Director, what do you think?" Unexpectedly, the next second, Dr. Sebastian looked straight at Becca. "Approved." The group of professors looked confused. What approved? What? He didn't ask a single question, didn't review any materials, and just approved her directly. It seemed the one asking for humiliation wasn't the little female across from them, but themselves. Becca cleared her throat softly. "Thank you for the director's recognition, but I'm not here to apply for an assistant position today, but for a researcher position." Everyone was shocked at her words. If the director really liked her, keeping her by his side as a pleasing ornament wouldn't be impossible. But a researcher position was extremely precious. They were the pillars of the research institute. The entire institute had tens of thousands of employees, but only about 200 researchers. Dr. Sebastian also sobered up considerably. He could easily help her get an assistant position, but researcher, an old professor, was so angry his beard bristled. "On what grounds? Do you have any work experience?" "None at all. Here are my achievements." Becca took out several documents from her portfolio. After seeing the text clearly, the professors were all shocked. These were internal test questions from the Central Imperial Research Institute. Even they might not be able to answer them all correctly, but what they held was a perfect score answer sheet. The last perfect score was achieved by the director, Dr. Sebastian took the test paper, his eyes also showing deep shock. The professors were astonished. She wasn't a willful and troublesome female at all, but clearly a true research genius. Her talent was fully displayed on this answer sheet. They had nothing left to test, so they directly asked about her preferences. Becca expressed her desire to become a pharmacist. Upon hearing this, the professor looked thoughtful. The pharmaceutical department is the core of the research institute. You must have many years of rich work experience or research achievements to be qualified. Although Becca doesn't meet these requirements, her perfect score has already proven her abilities. How about this? Tell us about your understanding of suppressants. Becca accurately analyzed the components of suppressants and pointed out the drawbacks of excessive dosage, damaging brain cells and causing manic and other mental symptoms. The Empire had long needed new suppressants, proposing targeted treatment rather than heavy-handed approaches. The production of suppressants should be linked to pheromones. She spoke eloquently, leaving all the professors horrified as they looked toward Dr. Sebastian, because these viewpoints were exactly what the director was about to publish in academic journals. The research results that all the researchers in the institute had worked on painstakingly for years were discovered by her, just by casually flipping through a few books. Dr. Sebastian stared at her, his dark purple pupils bursting with incredibly bright light. He remembered when they first met, he thought she was an ordinary female without pheromones. While he was an S-class male, completely mismatched, now it seemed. She was clearly a sparkling gem, while he was arrogant and narrow-minded. He was the one unworthy of her. Dr. Sebastian took out a pink phoenix tail flower badge from a gift box, symbolizing the identity of a research scientist. He walked in front of her and gently pinned it on her. Miss Becca! Congratulations on passing the interview. May I invite you to dinner together? Becca touched the badge and happily went out with him. Suddenly, a loud and long bell sound rang out. Dr. Sebastian's expression immediately became serious when the palace bell rings. There must be a national mourning, but in recent months, there hasn't been any news of royal nobles being critically ill. That can only mean someone with status equal to the royal family. General Aslan, who just led troops to war. I'm sorry, I understand. Please go quickly. Dr. Sebastian boarded an aircraft and rushed to the palace at the fastest speed. General Aslan, she had heard Frederick and Enzo mention him. He was their idol, possessing extremely rare SS-level combat power. She wondered if Frederick and Enzo would be sad upon hearing this news. She wandered aimlessly and unknowingly walked to the interstellar garden again. In a pit several meters wide, she saw a red little tiger, clearly a decisive and fierce tiger war god, yet treated by the girl as a little tiger that hadn't been weaned, being fed goat milk and given baths. The little tiger despaired. It's over, it's over. Is he going to be seen naked by the little female? Just moments ago, General Aslan had single-handedly resisted the miasma bombs and used his last bit of strength to return to his homeland. He gradually shed his human form, becoming a wounded little tiger, silently awaiting death. But he was found by Becca, who had just left the research institute. Seeing the little tiger lying injured all over in the deep pit, Becca gently stroked his neck. But with this touch, an overwhelming surge of pheromones immediately rushed through the little tiger's ruptured glands, miraculously reconnecting his severed meridians and healing his broken skin. This caused the unconscious little tiger to open his eyes again. And, with this glance, Becca felt a strong will to live independence. Don't be afraid, I'll take you home. Becca wrapped him tightly in her clothes and flew to the luxury villa district on a small aircraft. Once home, Becca prepared 2 emergency injections, but saw that the little tiger, who had been dying just moments ago, now had blood that had already coagulated, with no trace of wounds at all. She was shocked, not expecting the small animals here to have such strong physical recovery abilities. She touched his tiger head with her fingertip. The little tiger purred comfortably, rolled over to expose his soft belly to her, as if this spot also wanted to be petted. Becca was charmed by his cuteness and carefully examined his entire body again. After confirming there were no problems, she put him in a temporarily built little nest. She was thinking about sending the little tiger to an animal protection agency when she opened her holo device and saw a message due to General Aslan's death. The entire nation would have a week-long holiday starting tomorrow. It seemed she would have to take care of this little tiger for a week. The next day, when the sun was almost setting, the little tiger still hadn't woken up. She gently poked his head. Still sleeping? Are you a tiger or a little pig? The little tiger sensed movement and slowly opened his eyes. Only then did Becca notice his eyes were red, like blood-red rubies, extremely beautiful. At this moment, the little tiger blinked his eyes in confusion. Who is she? So beautiful. Is she his mother? The little tiger opened his mouth and made a sound. Becca had expected the tiger cub's cry to be like a kitten's, but it was milky and soft like a Muscovy duck. Becca laughed so hard she swayed like flowers in the wind, completely unaware that the little tiger was quietly staring at her chest, swallowing twice. Mama, food! Suddenly the little tiger opened his mouth and pounced on her. Becca was startled and reflexively grabbed his scruff and threw him aside, using considerable force. But the little tiger landed steadily on the ground, just looking innocent and confused. Becca didn't expect the tiger to be aggressive even when so small, actually trying to bite her. What are you doing? Being scolded by Mama, the little tiger became even more aggrieved, hanging his head and whimpering twice, then lifting his paw to rub his empty belly. He was just hungry. Becca actually understood what he meant. No wonder the little tiger was acting like he meant family and being affectionate. So he took me for his mother? She bent down to rub his head. Sorry for wrongly accusing you, but I'm not your mother. The little tiger curiously tilted his head to look at her. Not mother, then what? Becca thought for a moment. I'm your master. When the word master came out, the little tiger immediately felt his heart tingle pleasantly, feeling very comfortable and having a sense of belonging. He liked his master. His tail wagged like an airplane propeller, extremely happy. All right, stay here obediently. I'll go make you some milk. The little tiger sat quietly to the side, watching her hold the bottle tightly with all 4 limbs, gulping it down. Master's milk tastes so good. Due to her busy work schedule, Becca had never had time to keep pets. She often envied seeing others post pictures of puppies and kittens on social media. She never expected to start by raising a little tiger. Becca touched the little tiger's chin. How about I call you Lenny? Upon hearing this, the little tiger paused his milk drinking, seeming to find this name somewhat familiar. Play here by yourself after drinking. I'll go upstairs to prepare a surprise for you. The little tiger obediently played with toys as if he understood. Playing and playing, occasionally looking up toward the upstairs. After a while, a call came from upstairs. The little tiger immediately picked up his ball and ran over. Seeing a pool of clear water, "It's not going to be a bath, is it?" He was dumbfounded and turned to run. But Becca quickly grabbed the scruff of his neck. "Where do you think you're going? Come take a bath." Though it was an extremely gentle voice, at this moment it sounded somewhat like an evil demon in his ears. "No, no!" He didn't want a bath. The little tiger struggled desperately. Becca completely ignored this. "You're so dirty and you still don't want a bath? Do you want to become a dirty tiger?" Without caring about his resistance, she directly put him in the water. Under the fierce struggling of the beast, splashing water flew from the pool, wetting the floor. Becca clicked her tongue in dissatisfaction, reached out with both hands, firmly pressing his tiger head with one hand and tightly gripping his waist with the other, successfully subduing him. Then she discovered that not only did he stop moving, his entire tiger body became extremely stiff, his rolling eyes full of shyness, not daring to look at her at all. "What's wrong?" Becca sensed his abnormality and was slightly stunned. Only then did she seem to realize something, suppressing her laughter and saying seriously, "So you're a female!" Lenny looked confused. Master got it wrong. He's male. The male little tiger was displeased, arching his body and spreading his forepaws skyward, desperately showing himself to her like a little rogue. Becca wondered, "What's wrong, little female?" "Roar!" The little tiger was so angry he called out directly, "Little female, your roar is so cute. Roar, roar, roar." The little tiger arched his fluffy back, desperately trying to produce fierce roaring sounds, but it still sounded very fierce, not even as scary as an angry cat. Becca couldn't stop laughing and teased him several times before deciding to let him off. "Sorry, Lenny. Master didn't see clearly just now." The little tiger turned his butt toward her, as if he didn't want to pay attention to her anymore. Becca poked his thick paw. "Look at this little male from some family, with such a small temper. Fine. If you don't want to see me, I'll just leave." Upon hearing this, the little tiger was startled and immediately jumped out of the water. "Ow!" Biting onto her clothing hem. Becca was almost melted by his cuteness. "Sorry, Lenny. I shouldn't have teased you and hurt your little self-esteem, but Master will definitely take responsibility for you." "Really?" The little tiger's eyes sparkled with joyful light. "Will Master take responsibility for him for a lifetime?" He looked at her expectantly, waiting silently. Becca actually got his thoughts from those bright eyes. A lifetime won't work. Don't look at how he's more obedient than a cat now. When he grows up and his wild nature emerges, he might eat me. But you must be obedient first. Don't disobey Master's orders and take your bath properly." The little tiger nodded frantically. "Lenny listens to Master the most." He cooperated completely after that, and Becca's washing process became much smoother. After washing, she was directly stunned. Lenny is actually a white tiger. So beautiful. Did she find a treasure? Becca couldn't help but hold him in her arms and rub him frantically. Lenny was struck by this sudden royal treatment, stunned for a moment, then leaped up, hanging all four limbs on her body, wagging and swaying as he acted cute and affectionate. Just as he was enjoying this intimate contact, he was picked up again. "What's wrong, Master?" "Lenny, your claws scratched me. We'll trim your nails tomorrow." Clearly a decisive and fierce tiger war god, yet treated by the girl as a little tiger that hadn't been weaned, being fed goat milk, and given baths. The little tiger despaired. "It's over, it's over. Is he going to be seen naked by the little female?" Just now, the little tiger had to compromise under the girl's coercion, and cooperate with her giving him a bath. But when he was happily enjoying the reward of hugs, he was picked up again. "What's wrong, Master?" Becca smiled. "Lenny, your claws scratched me. Let's trim your nails today." The little tiger's expression froze instantly, shaking his head desperately to show resistance. He didn't. He had clearly retracted them. It was Master's skin that was too tender. "You have to, even if you don't want to. Don't think you can escape." Fierce and cute. Thinking that without claws he couldn't play with scratching posts anymore, he immediately drooped his head. For some reason, this tiger-headed and tiger-brained aggrieved appearance always aroused Becca's desire to bully him. She just didn't know that this mischievous mood would be punished at night. She put the little tiger in a well-equipped simulated ecological nest and went back to her room to sleep peacefully after watching him close his eyes. Unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, something swiftly and nimbly slipped into the blankets, scaring her awake suddenly. Lifting the blanket, she saw a certain little white tiger lying on his back, trying to act cute and "Stay here, Master. I'm here." Becca gritted her teeth and warned as she carried him back. "Lenny, go sleep in your own nest." The little tiger drooped his tail, looking unwilling. Half an hour later, he tried the same trick again. Becca carried him back once more, but after several rounds like this, she was almost driven crazy by sleepiness. She just couldn't understand why he wouldn't sleep in such a beautiful and comfortable nest, insisting on coming to squeeze in with her. The nest isn't as beautiful as Master, and not as comfortable as being on Master. Lenny wants to sleep with Master. Seeing his paws gripping the bedsheets tightly, determined not to leave, Becca had no choice but to temporarily hold him and sleep together. In the dead of night, in the pitch-black room, the little tiger's pure and clear ruby eyes secretly gazed at the sleeping girl. Master is really beautiful, so fragrant and soft. He couldn't help but stick out his tongue to lick her cheek. The next morning, Becca's whole body stiffened. She looked down at the tiger who had torn her clothes and was buried in her chest, black lines covering her forehead. "Lenny, I told you to be good." Upon hearing this, he innocently smacked his wet eyes. Indeed, one can't sleep with pets. Becca clenched her hands, controlled her breathing, and walked into the bathroom with her clothes. Is Master angry? She didn't hug him, nuzzle him, or make him milk when she woke up this morning. The little tiger wagged his tail uncertainly, listening to the rushing water outside and deciding to go apologize. But just as he reached the door, he saw. His eyeballs went straight. Becca suddenly heard light, pattering footsteps. Turning around, it was indeed Lenny. But why was he having a nosebleed? What's wrong with you? Seeing Becca worriedly rushing over. The little tiger's nose bled profusely and he directly fainted. Becca looked confused and gave him an emergency physical examination, but found nothing wrong except some internal heat. So after he woke up, she severely lectured him. "This is what you get for staying up late and not sleeping properly. You've developed health problems from sleep deprivation. It's not because of staying up late." The little tiger was somewhat embarrassed and turned his head, not daring to look at her. Becca thought he was being defiant and rubbed his head vigorously. "Did you hear me talking to you? Next time you dare do this, I'll throw you outside to sleep." Upon hearing about being thrown outside, the little tiger was so scared he shook his head repeatedly, hugging her leg like a koala with all four paws. No, don't throw me outside. Master, I'll be obedient." Seeing the intimidation worked, Becca happily trimmed the little tiger's nails. He didn't like it but couldn't resist, pretending to bite her hand, but as he bit, he couldn't help licking instead. "Master smells so good and is so tender." That day, Becca took the little tiger to plant flowers together. She brought gloves, a hoe, watering can, and other tools to the backyard to plant, only to find they were completely unnecessary, because Lenny took care of all the work. The little tiger used his thick paws to dig out holes in just a few moves, put the seeds in, then picked up the watering can to water them. He completely didn't need Becca to help. She just needed to cheer him on from the side. Lenny is so amazing. Lenny is so capable. The more she praised him, the more energetic he became. In less than half an hour, the little tiger had finished scattering all the seeds. Finally, he walked proudly to his master, raising his head to ask for hugs, when a flower butterfly landed on his nose. "It's itchy!" The little tiger raised his paw to swat at it. "Lenny, don't," Becca said too late. The butterfly that had been dancing gracefully just now fell straight down the next second. "You could have just blown it away. Why did you hit it?" She walked over and flicked the little tiger's forehead as punishment, then carefully picked up the butterfly with clean gloves. The little tiger followed her into the room, knowing he had done wrong. Becca opened her medicine box, thinking about saving the butterfly, and started working seriously. The little tiger was patient at first, but gradually became irritated. Why is Master paying so much attention to a little butterfly, just because it has a pair of colorful, beautiful wings? If only I had some too. He paced back and forth anxiously, suddenly feeling a fire burning inside his body, as if it wanted to tear through his skin and burst out. Suddenly, a flash of fire blazed up in the room. Becca turned around and saw that Lenny had grown a pair of brilliant red flame wings. Could Lenny really be a divine beast? The little tiger was also happy and about to flap them, but found he couldn't fly at all. Only then did he discover his right wing was broken, with only half remaining, so ugly. He was sadly about to retract them, when Becca excitedly rushed over, so beautiful and magical. The little tiger slowly raised his head, looking at the joyful light in Master's eyes, full of confusion. "Doesn't she think it's ugly?" Only then did Becca notice his half-hidden right wing, so this wing is broken. "I thought it was naturally this cute." "Don't worry, I'll find a way to heal it. Then our Lenny will be the most special and beautiful divine beast in the world." "Really?" Upon hearing this, the little tiger became completely lively, leaping directly into his master's arms. He was so happy. He loved Master most in the whole world. "All right, you little charmer." Becca was tickled by his licking and laughed as she rubbed his head. Treating Lenny's broken wing would be a major project. Since he wasn't an ordinary tiger who grew them, they naturally weren't ordinary wings either. Ordinary methods simply wouldn't work. She suddenly thought of the research institute. There was a historically significant imperial museum there, housing many rare treasure books and magical potions. Unfortunately, it was currently during the shutdown period. So Becca took the little tiger and used her phoenix tail flower badge to secretly infiltrate the empty research institute. When she entered laboratory number 1, she was shocked by the scene inside. Various experimental machines, complete auxiliary tools. Looking up, there were medicine storage compartments as far as the eye could see, each locked, with tens of thousands of serial numbers. She activated the nearby intelligent assistant, wanting to search for some keywords to obtain relevant pharmaceutical ingredients, but found the screen only allowed serial number input. This should be the laboratory's anti-theft system. Only professionals could retrieve medicines according to serial numbers. Just as she was troubled about how to solve this, Dr. Sebastian's video call suddenly came through on her holo device interface. Becca immediately panicked, hesitating whether to answer. Being discovered secretly infiltrating the laboratory to steal medicines during the shutdown period wouldn't look good. Treating Lenny's wing is more important. Becca mentally prepared herself and clicked to answer. Dr. Sebastian, who had been busy for days and nights with barely any sleep, immediately felt all his fatigue and weariness disappear upon seeing the girl. He used to think protective suits were cold and rigid, but now, worn by the girl, they had a cool, mysterious, and aesthetic feeling. He tightened his hands, thinking he must be too tired. Otherwise, how could he have such inappropriate thoughts? Becca, how did you get into laboratory number 1? Did you discover? Is it because I'm wearing a protective suit? No, I know about everyone who swipes their badge to enter the research institute, let alone you. The only pink female badge. He had even set a special notification sound for it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to infiltrate the research institute, it's just that my pet's wing was injured. Seeing her misunderstanding, Dr. Sebastian quickly explained, Becca, I'm not blaming you. I'm just curious how you came to enter the research institute at this time, and also, he had missed her these past few days but didn't dare express it freely, just staring fixedly at Becca. What I mean is, in my domain you can always do whatever you want. Such indulgent words left Becca stunned. Then she smiled. Thank you. The little tiger, who had been exploring the laboratory, suddenly heard an adult male's voice and perked up his ears, immediately returning at 180 miles per hour and leaping onto the lab table. Sure enough, he saw in the holo device a flashily dressed male staring intently at his master, his eyes full of intense love fire. A natural hostility rose from his heart. The little tiger was furious, baring his teeth and hissing at him. Becca reached out and covered his head. Don't be rude. Before he could show his power, he was stopped. The little tiger became even angrier and roared out loud. Roar! Dr. Sebastian was surprised to hear the sound and paused, seeming to think, Becca, is your pet a duck? Becca couldn't stop laughing, looking at Lenny, who was struggling desperately beside her. Roar, roar, roar! The little tiger roared even more fiercely. He's the duck. He wants to bite this stupid and annoying male who dares to covet master. Sorry, he's a bit mischievous. Let me discipline him. She turned and cupped Lenny's little head, rubbing it firmly. What are you doing being naughty again? Did you forget what you promised me? The little tiger looked at her and immediately backed down. Dr. Sebastian had wanted to stop her from disciplining her pet, but when he heard her voice and saw her arm swaying, he suddenly felt a bit envious. Where's the discipline in this? It's clearly coddling, such intimate movements, such a gentle voice. If she treated him like this, would he like her beast form? Thinking about this, he shook his head. What's wrong with me? Have I actually fallen to wanting to be a pet? After Becca got the serial number from Dr. Sebastian, she worked hard for a day and finally prepared the recovery solution. But this medicine seemed to have a hypnotic effect. Lenny could sleep for 20 hours or even a whole day. However, each time he woke up, his energy was better than before. Not only did his broken wing grow, but his size also visibly increased. Something terrible happened. Something terrible happened. In front of everyone, the two brothers directly transformed into beast form and completely lost control. Just now, Frederick and Enzo had come to attend the War God's memorial service. When they were about to leave, they were stopped by a female in gorgeous robes, followed by a group of male soldiers and male slaves. It was Princess Catherine, who had long admired the two. The princess smiled happily upon seeing them, but thinking of recent rumors, her smile gradually stiffened. I heard you've recently been pursuing a lone female without pheromones. To please her, you even didn't hesitate to transform into beast form in public. Is this true? Upon hearing this, Frederick and Enzo silently exchanged glances. Today was General Aslan's funeral. This was his memorial hall, yet she wanted to bring up these matters at this time. They no longer played games and nodded in acknowledgement. Catherine immediately flew into a rage. She was a princess above tens of thousands, and an S-class female precious to the Empire. How was she inferior to that worthless female? Frederick and Enzo frowned. In our hearts, no one can compare to her. Princess Catherine's eyes turned red with anger. No matter how excellent they were just males, yet they dared to publicly humiliate her, a princess of the nation. So she decided to stop being lenient and directly activated her pheromones. Everyone present was shocked. Princess Catherine's pheromone level was S-class, and what she was now releasing was S+ inducing pheromones. Any male below S-class would be unable to resist. This was deliberately embarrassing the Imperial twin stars. The two men's faces turned pale, cold sweat broke out, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably, yet they still stood straight. Seeing this, Catherine increased her pheromone concentration again. Frederick felt as if his entire being was about to burn, sensing platinum feathers faintly appearing on his arms. Enzo wasn't much better. He was so hot he wanted to tear himself apart, cut out his heart and lungs. He uncontrollably let out a wolf howl. Catherine walked smugly to the two disheveled men. Are you suffering, officers? Kneel down and beg me to be your female master and I'll satisfy you. Upon hearing this, Frederick and Enzo both raised their eyes, red as burning iron. Terrifying. Just when Catherine thought they would submit, they gritted their teeth and refused again. How is this possible? Catherine stepped back in shock. Males' desire for female pheromones was written in their genes. No matter how strong their will, they couldn't possibly resist. Frederick and Enzo also feared they might lose their minds and begged the princess for comfort. But when they were induced into heat symptoms, they discovered they didn't need Catherine's pheromones at all. Her salty seawater was now like gasoline, making the fire in their bodies burn even more fiercely. What they craved was a familiar cold scent. What was it? They held their heads, souls trembling, completely unaware they were repeatedly murmuring one name: Becca. More than having their dignity challenged, having their female pheromones rejected made Catherine even more panicked and furious. She used all her strength to release her pheromones. Frederick endured the pain and actually tore off his own feathers. Enzo also transformed into a half-human, half-beast form, curled up entirely. Thousands of people surrounded them, royal relatives, famous nobles, and citizens who came to pay respects. Seeing the beloved imperial twin stars tortured like this, everyone felt sympathetic, but no one dared to step forward and stop it. Catherine was a noble S-class female. Only 2 people on the planet could control her. One was Queen Jenny, mother of all, an SS-level female. Unfortunately, Catherine was her only daughter, whom she spoiled terribly, allowing and indulging everything she did. The other was General Aslan, who possessed the strongest combat power in history. Unfortunately, he had already fallen. Finally, a Marchioness who was friends with Joyce couldn't bear to watch anymore and tremblingly knelt to plead with the princess. Please stop, Your Highness. The Empire has just lost a great general, and the enemies are watching closely. If you harm 2 excellent officers now, it might cause public outrage. Catherine withdrew her hand, gasping for breath. But not because of the Marchioness's plea. She was exhausted. She pointed tremblingly at the imperial twin stars. Having lost all her earlier smugness, replaced by deep terror, they had actually been able to break free from their craving for pheromones. Go, they're already in heat. Without pheromones, they'll either die or be crippled. She left harsh words and hurriedly departed with her group of male soldiers and male slaves. Meanwhile, at the luxury villa district, Becca had just opened her holo device when she saw an urgent trending topic pushed by Planetary News. She clicked on it, and upon seeing the bloodied Frederick and the frantically agitated Enzo, she was struck like lightning. Becca had no time to think. She put on suppressants, followed the real-time tracking location on her holo device, and arrived at the Earl's estate. Becca pushed through the blocking guards and rushed into the estate. At this time, Joyce was crying her heart out, collapsed completely on the ground. The Earl beside her also looked worried and kept sighing, not knowing what to do. Upon seeing Becca, Joyce immediately became grief-stricken and furious. Wasn't this the female her 2 sons were willing to risk their lives pursuing? It's all her fault. It's all her fault that my sons became like this. Joyce stood up tremblingly, gritting her teeth. What are you doing here? Because of you, they angered the princess and were forced into heat by induced pheromones. Now they're mentally deranged and have started self-harming. You don't have pheromones. Are you planning to comfort them with sweet words and gentle care? How ridiculous. Becca opened her medical kit. I have suppressants. Joyce became even more furious upon seeing this. Who doesn't know that suppressants have serious side effects and can only be used a week before heat cycles? Are you toying with me? These are new suppressants, specifically developed for their physiology. They can be used during heat cycles and are harmless to the body. Joyce was stunned. Where did these new suppressants come from? How do I not know about them? I just developed them. I'm a researcher at the Imperial National Science Institute. Becca was about to show her the badge on her chest, but realized she had left in such a hurry that she forgot to wear it. Joyce laughed bitterly. A place like the Science Institute with such high standards and mentally demanding work. When has there ever been a female, let alone a researcher? Get out! Stop making trouble here! She couldn't tolerate her anymore. Joyce opened her palm and activated S-class warning pheromones to drive her away. As an S-class female, dealing with this lowest-level female without pheromones was as easy as stepping on an ant. This palm strike would leave her seriously injured if not vomiting blood. But unexpectedly, Becca slowly raised her eyes. That firm gaze was like an invisible barrier, not only deflecting all her attacks but also enveloping her in tremendous pressure, making it difficult for her to even breathe. How is this possible? Doesn't she have no pheromones? Take me to see Colonel Frederick and Major Enzo, Becca said. The enormous pressure instantly lifted. Without a chance to think further, upon hearing these words, Joyce only wanted to submit and obey, even kneel in obedience. Becca followed her and soon reached the back mountain, where a tall, completely enclosed steel building stood. Joyce wiped her tears. This is a temporary detention facility set up by the military, usually holding dangerous prisoners. Now, Frederick and Enzo have locked themselves inside. As she opened the visual screen at the entrance, the shocking scene inside immediately appeared before their eyes. In the cage, the 2 brothers had completely transformed into beast form, frantically ramming into the walls non-stop, leaving all 4 walls covered in blood. Frederick's palms were mangled. and Enzo's green eyes revealed extreme savagery, as if he had lost all reason. "Quickly open the door and let me in." Becca broke open the medicine vial with her bare hands, inhaled the suppressants, and stepped into the pitch-black prison cell holding a syringe. The space, thick with the heavy scent of blood, suddenly carries a familiar, cool fragrance. The two brothers freeze instantly. Earlier, they had been in agony, violent and frenzied, but their consciousness remained clear. They had used all their strength to fight against the pheromones. Success would be a miracle. They would never be controlled by the princess again. But when they catch this scent, the tight strings in their minds snap completely, and they lose all ability to think. Every cell in their bodies roars with desire for her, even if it means kneeling and begging, even if it costs them their lives. They realized they weren't fighting against their craving for pheromones. The pheromones they craved simply hadn't arrived yet. Becca had originally planned a quick resolution. After all, they had now transformed into beasts, making the situation extremely dangerous. But upon entering, she discovers that the cage, which had been restless moments before, is now eerily quiet and abnormal. The surroundings are pitch black, and she can't see anything. Gathering her courage, she tentatively calls out their names. The next second, a massive claw wraps around her waist from behind, forcefully pressing her into a burning embrace. Becca is still in shock when an enormous creature flies toward her face, startling her into closing her eyes. The suppressants in her hands are knocked to the ground by the impact. When she comes to her senses, she finds herself like a sandwich cookie, tightly embraced by a wolf and an eagle. The huge size and strength difference makes it impossible for her to break free. This is it. They've really lost control and turned into beasts. They're going to tear me apart. Just as Becca thinks of calling back their sanity, she feels the fierce snow wolf behind her suddenly extend its tongue, frantically licking her hair and cheeks, its limbs rubbing against her wildly. It's the scent of fairy wood, so fragrant and fresh. So comfortable, I want to roll around. More. Will Becca give me more? Please. Before Becca can react, she sees the golden-crested eagle in front, extending its long, beautiful neck, its wings trembling continuously as if begging for her touch. Seeing her lack of response, the golden-crested eagle actually makes whimpering sounds like a baby bird. "Becca, pet me. I'd give you my life." Becca gently reaches out to touch his feathers. Frederick immediately shudders with pleasure. Snow Lotus, it's Snow Lotus, that cold and icy pheromone. Becca's eyelid twitches. She had thought these two handsome officers, transformed into fierce beasts, would viciously tear her to pieces bite by bite. But now, looking so pitifully desperate for pets, what's the difference between them and two pets? A baby bird and a big dog. She could take them home to keep Lenny company. Becca immediately gets to the point. "Let me go. Stand at attention, one on the left and one on the right, and I'll give you what you want." Hearing this, the golden-crested eagle and snow wolf immediately release her obediently and stand at attention. Becca picks up the two suppressants and, as a reward, extends both hands to pet the back of their necks. Unexpectedly, the two beasts suddenly react as if shocked, trembling all over. Frederick's eyes lose focus, and all his platinum feathers stand on end. Enzo tilts his head with his tongue hanging out. His body is limp as a blanket, impossible to lift. What Becca doesn't know is that when the two were resisting the princess's pheromones earlier, they had damaged the protective membrane on the back of their necks. The sudden injection of large amounts of pheromones is equivalent to false marking. Seeing them completely lose their fighting ability, Becca injects them with the new suppressants. Meanwhile, in the main hall, Lady Joyce suddenly awakens with a start, as if breaking free from some magical control. What had she just done? She actually led Becca into the prison. Her two sons had lost control and transformed into beasts. They would tear her apart alive. Earlier, blinded by anger, she had recklessly attacked her with pheromones, which already violated the law. If she causes the death of a precious female, their entire clan would face disaster. She rushes frantically to the back mountain, fearing she'll see a horrific scene of carnage. However, what she sees instead is Frederick and Enzo, like an obedient little bird and a cuddling big dog. nestled closely on either side of Becca, wanting pets and hugs, clinging to Becca even more than they used to cling to her as children. She stares in disbelief. What's happening? Becca takes out 2 monitoring bracelets to show Lady Joyce. They display mental collapse values of 10 and 11, the extremely low values her sons had only as infants. Lady Joyce is so shocked her jaw nearly drops. How did you do this? As I said, I'm a researcher at the Imperial Science Academy. This is the new suppressant I developed. The results look good now? Instantly, Lady Joyce's eyes fill with tears of joy, gratitude, and deep guilt. She had actually used suppressants to save Frederick and Enzo's lives, rescuing her twin sons. I'm sorry, Miss Becca. What I did earlier. Becca indicates she understands. Lady Joyce eagerly moves to embrace her sons, but Frederick pecks at her hands fiercely, and Enzo kicks her mercilessly, as if saying, "Don't even think about separating me from Becca." Lady Joyce is dumbfounded. You little rascals, got yourselves wives and forgot your mother, eh? Becca explains with a smile. They're currently in a state of unclear consciousness. Lady Joyce, please wait outside. I'll come out after I coax them to sleep. Lady Joyce has no choice but to exit the prison. Through the viewing screen, watching the warm and harmonious scene inside, she finally understands why her sons like Becca so much. Beauty is just a superficial appearance. Gentleness, intelligence, composure, and a loving heart are her true core. How could anyone resist such a female? 4 hours later, Becca finally emerges exhausted. She finds Lady Joyce has already prepared water and food for her. She expresses deep gratitude, then asks if she really has no pheromones. Becca shakes her head. Definitely not. Lady Joyce finds this incredible. She had clearly lost all autonomous thinking and ability to act. Even if Becca had pheromones, they couldn't possibly suppress hers. Unless her pheromone level was as high as double S class, like Queen Jenny. Just then, a guard runs over with a letter in hand. These 2 court summons are for Frederick and Enzo. Lady Joyce quickly opens them, and after reading, she can't control her tears. The princess has filed a lawsuit with the court. What awaits Frederick and Enzo is either bowing their heads to apologize to the princess and obediently entering the palace as consorts, or endless imprisonment. Frederick and Enzo, for your sake, would rather endure the pain of heat cycle collapse than submit to the princess. As for the law, they simply don't care about it. This is the second time Becca has heard this from her, Lady Joyce. I think you've misunderstood something. Frederick and Enzo's refusal of marriage to the princess isn't because of me. Before I appeared, had the princess ever proposed marriage to the officers? Did they agree? Lady Joyce is speechless. It seems not. In many noble marriages, females require males to give up work and stay home as house husbands and fathers. Especially the royal family. To demonstrate power and status, they don't even allow going out in public. I suspect the 2 officers disagree with this marriage because they don't want to give up their military dreams. Lady Joyce, don't you know that these 2 are soldiers with great aspirations? Otherwise, they wouldn't have achieved what they have at such a young age. After hearing this, Lady Joyce feels deeply ashamed, unable to even lift her head. She had educated her sons for so many years, yet she understood them less than someone who had just met them recently. How do you know these things? Did they tell you? No, because like them, I also have dreams I'm willing to sacrifice everything for. Lady Joyce looks at the medical kit in Becca's hands, remembering her earlier words. At such a young age, with a female identity, yet having developed such miraculous new suppressants, she's indeed extraordinary. So what should they do? With such stubborn personalities, they won't really go to prison, will they? There are still a few days before the trial. You should take care of them first, ensuring they safely get through their heat cycle. I'll think of other solutions. Think of solutions. What solutions could there be? The next day, Becca, having rested well, begins thinking about how to help Frederick and Enzo overcome their difficulties. She searches through almost all of the Empire's marriage laws but finds nothing useful. Just as she feels discouraged, her attention turns to the thick imperial constitution at the bottom of the pile. She opens it with her last glimmer of hope and actually finds something useful. Orphaned females under 25 with no parents or relatives can apply to the government for male guardians. During this period, the chosen males can refuse marriage proposals from other females. Perfect! She has never been so grateful for her orphan status. With 3 days until the trial, there's plenty of time to apply now. Meanwhile, Frederick and Enzo, who had slept for a day and night, finally wake up. In their dreams, when their minds collapsed and they transformed into beasts, suffering to the point of self-harm, they saw Becca. So the first thing they ask upon waking is, "Mother, did Becca come here?" After receiving a positive answer, the 2 brothers eagerly want to find her. But the next second, Lady Joyce stops them. "Sons, look at this." After the brothers receive the summons handed to them, their mood immediately sinks. Indeed, the princess won't let them off easily. But does she think this can threaten them? Seeing their expressions, Lady Joyce knows their minds are made up. She sighs softly. Becca was right. She really understands you better than I do. "Mother, what did Becca say?" Lady Joyce opens the living room surveillance and replays their conversation. Frederick and Enzo stare intently at the girl in the video. When they hear her say they are two soldiers with great aspirations, willing to sacrifice everything for their dreams, their hearts tremble. It's a high degree of spiritual compatibility, even more shocking than physical pleasure. Becca truly is the most unique person in the world, the one who understands them best. They want to be with her forever and ever, but there's no chance now. Frederick looks at the summons in his hand. The iron-willed colonel, who would never shed a tear, feels his eyes sting for the first time. Enzo also turns and goes into his room. Now they're about to become prisoners. They shouldn't have any contact with her anymore. They're not worthy. The next day, Becca receives a stamped reply approving her guardian application. She happily prepares to share this with Frederick and Enzo, but discovers that the two haven't contacted her for 2 days and nights. They clearly woke up already. These ungrateful wretches. Just as Becca is about to take the initiative to contact them, Lady Joyce calls on her holo device. "Miss Becca, please come to the estate quickly." Frederick and Enzo are about to torture themselves to death. They've locked themselves in their rooms and haven't eaten a grain of rice for 2 days and nights, just drinking heavily. If this continues, their bodies will collapse before the trial even begins. Becca breathes a sigh of relief. So it's not a problem with their willpower. They're just sulking. "Don't worry, leave it to me." In the pitch-black room, Frederick and Enzo sit slumped in corners looking haggard, unconsciously murmuring Becca's name. When the special ringtone sounds, both their bodies jolt. Although they miss Becca constantly in their hearts, when they see her holo device number, they shrink back timidly. Finally, Frederick answers the holo device. "What's the matter?" Hearing his deliberately distant tone, Becca almost wants to laugh. She thinks to herself that if Colonel doesn't have acting skills, he shouldn't try to show off. Suppressing her laughter, she says, "I heard you received court summons and are facing indefinite imprisonment. Since we've known each other, would you like to come out and meet one last time?" The words "one last time" cause Frederick considerable mental shock. Yes, one last time. After that, he'll be in prison and will never see Becca again. "Yes," Frederick replies hoarsely. "Good. Maybe seeing her this once will be enough to support him through the endless imprisonment ahead." What about Enzo? Although he's usually jealous of his brother, this last meeting isn't just for him, but for his brother too. As for Enzo, forget about him. I've called his holo device many times with no answer. He probably has no feelings for me at all. Better not to meet. Next door, Enzo's sharp wolf ears perk up. With his keen hearing, he springs up from the ground. He does. He loves Becca the most. Without hesitation, he immediately calls Becca. "Becca, I want to see you too." After hanging up the holo device, Frederick and Enzo immediately get up, shower, shave, style their hair, and change clothes in one smooth sequence. In the main hall, Lady Joyce, who doesn't know what to do, suddenly sees her 2 sons, who had been holed up in their rooms looking dejected, come out. Not only do they come out, but they're both dressed neatly, tidily, and handsomely. Lady Joyce is dumbfounded. She had spent 2 days crying and earnestly trying to persuade them, and they acted as if they couldn't hear her. But one holo device call from Becca, and they immediately go out. What a sin! How did she give birth to 2 such love-struck fools? Following Becca's location, Frederick and Enzo arrive in the Western District. They see Becca stepping down from an aircraft. She holds a light-colored parasol, wears high heels, and is dressed in a velvet dress, breathtakingly beautiful. Although they've seen her many times before, the 2 brothers are still mesmerized. Becca waves at them from afar. Seeing no response, she walks over. "Are you 2 brain dead from being locked up at home? Stop staring and follow me inside." The 2 snap back to reality. Inside? Where to? They look up and suddenly realize they're standing under a tall building. When they see the words written above, they're shocked. Why did Becca bring them to the civil registry office? Could it be for marriage? Becca, no! They're about to become prisoners. They're completely unworthy of her. But if she has them in her heart and is willing to accept them, it would be the blessing of their lifetime. Becca, seeing their ever-changing expressions, leans in slightly. "What are you thinking? You don't think I brought you here to register for marriage, do you?" With a crack, all the beautiful fantasies and painful struggles in Frederick and Enzo's minds shatter, turning into incomparable embarrassment. They had been presumptuous. Becca suppresses her laughter. "Of course not. Hurry up and go in. There's important business to handle." The brothers' faces instantly turn red with embarrassment. They follow behind the girls step by step, like 2 ostriches wanting to bury their faces in their clothes. It's just too humiliating. Entering the main hall, Becca hands the application form to the front desk staff. After carefully reviewing it, the person stands up and asks, "Respected Miss, are your chosen guardians the two gentlemen behind you? Please have them come forward to sign." Becca turns to signal them, but sees Frederick and Enzo completely stunned. Guardians? What's that? Orphaned females under 25 can apply to the state for 2 male guardians to ensure basic living conditions. During this period, marriage is not allowed, or it would violate the Constitution. In other words, you can refuse the princess's marriage proposal. Becca smiles, waiting for them to show happy expressions. Several minutes pass, and the two remain motionless, as if truly stunned. Just as she's about to speak, the next second they rush forward and hug her tightly. Now it's Becca's turn to blush. An 18-year-old girl in her prime, actually embracing men in public, and 2 of them at that. The couples coming and going around them cast envious glances their way, and those 2 males holding the little female so tightly and powerfully as if they want to merge into her bones. You can tell they're head over heels in love. Unlike our males at home, so proper and stiff like wooden blocks, not understanding romance at all. Frederick and Enzo's actions are purely instinctive, completely overwhelmed by immense joy. They can refuse the princess's marriage. They can continue being with Becca. Has Becca been thinking of ways to save them these past few days? How can she be so wonderful? She's the most beautiful existence in the world. They're crazy about her. Becca extends her fingertip and pokes the man's firm chest. "You should sign now." She doesn't even dare look at the staff member's expression. "If I said they're just grateful, would you believe me?" Next, Frederick and Enzo act as if they've taken stimulants, grinning so widely their mouths nearly split the entire time. Becca is also infected by their smiles. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, Princess Catherine lies lazily on a huge black panther. How did it go? If they're not afraid of pheromones, they should at least fear death, right? Central prison has torture devices one after another. Few who enter come out alive. A servant stammers, the summons were delivered, but then withdrawn. The court's reason is that the twin stars have become guardians of an orphaned female and have the right to refuse marriage. What? Princess Catherine flies into a rage, kicking the several males serving her to the ground. An orphaned female? That useless female who doesn't even have pheromones again. Someone, go bring that waste female to the palace. The seemingly harmless little tiger on the surface is actually a decisive and fierce tiger war god behind the scenes, facing 2 powerful S-class combat males. He actually knocks them both down, just now. After Becca and the 2 brothers left the civil registry office, she brought them home. She calculates the time. Lenny has been sleeping for 3 days and should wake up soon. Since she prepared the healing solution for Lenny's injured wings, he gradually sleeps for 20 hours, or even a whole day. But each time he wakes up, his energy is even better than before. Not only do his broken wings grow back, but his body size also visibly increases. He must be accelerating growth and development during sleep. The little guy has been sleeping so long this time, his stomach must be starving. If he doesn't get to drink milk in time, he'll throw a tantrum and wreck the house. Hearing this, Frederick and Enzo look curious. "Becca, you have a pet? What is it?" Thinking of that milk-fierce little tiger, Becca smiles and deliberately keeps them in suspense. "A very cute little guy. You'll know when you get there." Hearing the word cute, Frederick and Enzo's minds conjure images of little kittens, puppies, and other adorable pets. Who would have thought that as soon as they open the door, a huge white figure accompanied by a fierce roar lunges at them? That's a tiger's roar. Hearing this somewhat familiar yet strange sound, Becca immediately reacts and rushes forward to intervene. "Lenny, no." She remembers that Lenny has extremely strong territorial instincts and possessiveness. He gets jealous even when she carries the scent of other males, let alone bringing them home. He must be furious. She should have thought of this earlier and come in to negotiate first. Frederick and Enzo are S-class combat males. Even against an adult tiger, they could easily crush it with one palm, let alone a small cub. If Lenny suddenly attacks, they would definitely be injured. But they never expected to see this scene, and are stunned. Lenny actually knocks both of them down. Not only is Becca surprised, but the twin stars, caught off guard and knocked down without a chance to resist. When they focus their eyes, their pupils instantly dilate and their souls tremble. Both exclaim in unison, "General!" The little tiger pins them down, bares his teeth, and roars fiercely. After smelling their scent, he loses interest and lets go, as if only asserting his household status without any interest in harming them. Then he immediately returns to his harmless, good tiger appearance, wagging his head and tail as he enthusiastically pounces toward Becca. "Master, you're back! Master, I missed you so much!" "Look, I didn't eat your lifesavers. Aren't I good? Quick, give Lenny kisses and hugs." Becca steps back twice, almost unable to bear his weight. "Lenny, how did you grow again?" The little tiger is very satisfied with his current height. His paws can firmly grasp his master's waist, and his head can nuzzle into his master's embrace. Absolutely comfortable. He keeps nuzzling, making purring sounds like a kitten acting cute. Thinking his behavior indicates he's hungry and wants to drink milk, Becca rubs his head affectionately and says dotingly, "All right, I'll make you a bottle right away. But first let me introduce you to 2 people. But Frederick and Enzo still maintain their earlier positions, staring motionlessly at Lenny with shock and suspicion in their eyes. "What's wrong with you? Lenny didn't hurt you, did he? Is this General Aslan? Born into the House of Earl, a rare noble mutant white tiger that appears once in a century, unparalleled in the world, only the General. But the General is naturally cold, proud, and bloodthirsty, never getting close to females. How could he be so affectionate, wagging his tail and acting cute toward a female?" Becca pauses, then laughs as if she's heard the funniest joke. How is that possible? He's just an ordinary little tiger. The two still don't believe it. How could a white tiger be ordinary? To prove it to them, Becca gets a small device and gives Lenny another physical examination on the spot. Except for some bone growth and the health column showing excellent, the screen still displays ordinary tiger. The two carefully confirm the medical report several times, then watch the white tiger holding a milk bottle and lying in Becca's arms, sucking obediently like a cub, showing none of the General's commanding presence, before their doubts are dispelled. Yes, what were they thinking? The General was caught in an explosion, but how could he possibly survive? Breed? Maybe in recent years of peace, spiritual energy has been growing and many rare species have reappeared. You two sit and have some tea. I'll go organize his things. Becca, let me help you. Becca smiles and shakes her head. No need. Right, no need. Don't disturb him in Master's private time. The little tiger, holding his milk bottle, walks proudly behind the girl toward the stairs. Lenny, why did you come too? After Becca finishes organizing, she turns around too. See, the little tiger has thrown away his bottle and is lying sprawled on her bed, belly up, fast asleep. It's Master's bed. Since he was last kicked off for secretly drinking milk, he hasn't had a chance to come up again. So nostalgic, so comfortable. He wants to sleep in Master's bed forever. Eat and then sleep. Lazy tiger. Becca finds it amusing and rubs his fluffy belly. Sleep well, my little sweetheart. She leaves her jacket behind, and after he firmly grabs her hand, she goes downstairs. Becca, where's the white tiger? Will he have problems staying home alone? Should we bring him to the estate? No need, he's sleeping. And according to his cycle, this sleep will last at least 10 days. 10 days or more. What kind of tiger sleeps so much? Becca laughs. When he wakes up this time, his wings should be healed too. At Earl's estate, early in the morning, Lady Joyce busies herself arranging the mansion's decorations, food, and guests. When Becca arrives, she's startled by the grand setup. She had thought it would just be an ordinary meal, but now it looks more like a banquet. The invited guests gather around her curiously. "You're so beautiful! I heard you're a researcher at the Imperial Science Academy. That's amazing!" Their eyes gossip as they look toward Frederick and Enzo behind her. To capture the hearts of the Imperial twin stars simultaneously. You know, they even refused the princess? The banquet is ready. What are you all still chatting about? Lady Joyce comes over and warmly takes Becca's hand. "Please, take your seat. Lady Joyce, this is too grand today. You're too kind." "This is nothing. Frederick and Enzo, since you've become her guardians, we're all family now." Hearing family, Frederick and Enzo's ears turn red. Lady Joyce smiles and seats Becca between the brothers. During the banquet, Becca barely lifts her chopsticks. With just one look, Frederick and Enzo compete to serve her food, soup, and wipe her mouth. Lady Joyce stares in amazement from across the table. She never imagined her two sons liked Becca to this extent. Whenever there are no outsiders, they practically want to feed her with their own bowls. They've practiced martial arts since childhood, and, like most soldiers, have rough personalities. When have they ever been so gentle and considerate to anyone? But they seem overly gentle, appearing too polite and formal. Sometimes females don't entirely like males who are too courteous and maintain too much distance. With this thought, she raises a glass. "Becca, since you're attending the banquet today, I have 3 toasts for you." Just as Frederick is about to object, Lady Joyce stops him with her eyes. Enzo wonders, what is Mother trying to do? With glasses this size, even ordinary males couldn't handle it. Becca will definitely get drunk. It's fine. Enzo, how can you refuse when an elder offers a toast? Becca considers her alcohol tolerance quite good. She's drunk many colleagues under the table before. 3 glasses shouldn't be a problem. Becca downs it in one gulp, finding the taste quite good. She finishes another glass. When Lady Joyce prepares the 3rd toast, Frederick can't help but grab her hand. "Becca, that's enough. Don't drink anymore. Since these toasts are for us, let us drink them instead." Frederick takes the glass and Enzo pours himself one too. Both drink for her. Becca finds this amusing and shakes her head, thinking they really underestimate her. What's drinking 2 glasses of wine? How drunk could she possibly get? But suddenly she realizes something's wrong with this wine. It's too strong! Suddenly, a dizzy, spinning sensation overwhelms her. Enzo quickly catches her with sharp reflexes. Frederick also rushes to check her condition. As expected, she's drunk. "Mother!" Still calling Mother, Mother? Can't you see Becca is drunk? Why aren't you taking her upstairs to care for her? Frederick and Enzo are immediately stunned. We can't. They're still pursuing Becca and haven't confessed or courted her yet. They need to maintain proper distance. Especially at a time like this, taking advantage of someone in distress would make Becca hate them when she wakes up. What are you still standing there for? Can't you see Becca is uncomfortable? These two silly boys. Do you really plan to be guardians forever? Frederick looks down and sees the girl slumped over the table with her eyes slightly closed, clearly very uncomfortable. He bends down and scoops her up in a princess carry. Seeing this, Enzo immediately gets angry. He's actually taking advantage of Becca being drunk to touch her, and he hasn't even held Becca yet. Enzo, Lady Joyce frowns and scolds him with her eyes. Male jealousy is no virtue, especially toward your own brother. Both brothers taking good care of Becca together is the right way. Enzo understands and quickly follows upstairs. The drunk Becca still thinks she's at home, suddenly feeling surrounded by heat, as if someone is holding her tightly. Is it Lenny? This bold tiger. He dares to sneak into bed while she's sleeping again. Let's see how she teaches him a lesson. She opens her mouth and bites his ear. Frederick, hurrying upstairs, suddenly freezes. But Becca seems unsatisfied with the texture. Lenny, why did your ears become so hard? So tough. She sways her head, gently nuzzling against his chest like she's acting cute. Frederick's blood rushes to his brain, and his whole body feels wrong. Every step feels like walking on knife points, extremely difficult. This feeling is a bit like when he was induced into heat by pheromones that day. Becca, don't tempt him like this. He grits his teeth and uses his combat power to finally get her to the second-floor room. Enzo, watch her first. I'll get some water to wipe her sweat. Looking closely at his beloved's beautiful face, Enzo stares blankly, unable to look away. To suppress the dirty thoughts in his mind, Enzo takes a blanket nearby to cover her form. Halfway through covering her, his arm is suddenly grabbed by the girl. A pair of deep green pupils gradually turn red as he leans down and kisses her directly. Frederick enters the room with water just in time to see this scene. Furious, he drops the water and throws a punch at Enzo. Enzo rubs his face, also trying to clear his head. The two brothers are about to go crazy. Faintly, this reminds them of memories from their heat day, burning wounds and suppressants. The current situation is similar to that time, but there are no suppressants now. Thinking this way, before long they both catch the scent of pheromones, and realize they're coming from Becca. The next day, when Becca wakes up, she sees two handsome faces very close to hers, Frederick and Enzo. She hastily checks her clothes, which are fortunately still intact. She breathes a long sigh of relief and relaxes considerably, carefully getting up to avoid waking them, then sneaking out like a thief. A few seconds later, Frederick and Enzo open their bloodshot eyes, watching the little female slip away quickly, both finding her adorable. But was what just came from Becca really pheromones? Could it be that her damaged pheromone glands have healed, or has she undergone secondary differentiation? The two look at each other silently, both seeing the same confusion in each other's eyes. Frederick, last night the scent on Becca, Enzo says hesitantly. It was pheromones, very rich pheromones. Frederick nods with certainty, sweeter than any female. At the same time, a commotion breaks out in the palace. Your Highness! Your Highness! A servant rushes into Catherine's chambers in panic. Last night, the entire Central Star felt an unprecedented pheromone wave. Catherine sits up abruptly. What do you mean? According to our detection, this pheromone level, the servant swallows hard, is suspected to be Quad S class. Catherine's face instantly turns pale. Quad sulfur class pheromones are the legendary once in 10,000 years irresistible level, capable of conquering all males, and even S-class females like herself would feel suppressed. Where is the source? Her voice trembles. The residential villa district. Meanwhile, Becca hurries home to find that little tiger Lenny has awakened and is sitting in the living room. But this time, his wings are completely healed, crimson feathers gleaming in the sunlight. What shocks her more is that Lenny has started speaking. Master has returned. His voice has become deep and magnetic, carrying a familiar authority. Becca freezes Lenny. You! The little tiger says unhurriedly. Master, your pheromones awakened last night. What pheromones? I clearly don't have any. You do, and they're Quad S class. He walks toward her step by step. They were just suppressed until last night when they fully awakened. Becca steps back. Who are you really? Lenny stops, his crimson eyes gazing at her. Aslan, the Empire's war god. And also, he pauses. You're Lenny? I'm very fortunate. If it weren't for your Quad S-class pheromones saving me, countless images flash through Becca's mind, the little tiger's noble bearing, extraordinary recovery ability, and yesterday's scene of easily subduing the twin stars. So you just temporarily lost the ability to fully transform back into human form? You've just been holding back from speaking? Aslan explains, well, when I first awakened, I truly hadn't recovered my consciousness, but later it became a bit awkward to suddenly start talking. Just then, urgent knocking comes from outside. Becca, are you all right? It's Frederick and Enzo's voices. And me. Sebastian's voice also sounds. Becca turns toward the door, then looks back at Aslan, suddenly understanding something. They all felt it. Every male on Central Star felt it. Aslan's eyes flash with possessiveness. Quad S-class irresistible pheromones are enough to drive all males crazy for you. The knocking outside becomes more urgent. Becca takes a deep breath and walks toward the door. It seems my peaceful life is about to end. No, Aslan says softly behind her. Your legend is just beginning. She looks back at him, the corner of her mouth slightly upturned. Yes, as a quad S-class irresistible female, with modern scientific knowledge and so many excellent males protecting me. But what excites her are the completely new research subjects on this planet. The biological mechanisms of pheromones, the genetic structure of beast people, interstellar energy systems. Here she can finally explore those scientific mysteries she wouldn't dare dream of on Earth. An 18-year-old female scientist